Why, hello, Internet! My name is Prunk, and today I want to show off the best puppy deck ever. And when I mean this. Like, this has been actually really, really fun. Surprisingly competitive. Like, it's not gonna dominate the meta. It's not gonna win your LCS. But it is a really fun puppy deck that I have been trying to work on for a while. Keep coming back to. And honestly, I think I've cracked a pretty decent code. So we are playing a couple of the puppies, and we are playing a couple of the pirates. Namely, Piglet is kind of our captain and Hook, and so we have a nice Steel Song puppy variant. We are not going to be playing Chernobog. Everyone always likes to sacrifice the puppies to a demon lord. I'm not that evil. I don't want to do that, and honestly, I don't even think it's that good. So anyway, without further ado, let's check out the deck list, and I really look forward to this one. All right, so let's start with the list, and we're going to go over the card by card. We are playing 4 copies of Stitch and the new dog because he's a dog. Stitch is a dog. This is a puppy. And we are playing 4 Captain Hooks. He's just a very, very strong 1-drop that we want in this deck list. We are playing 6 copies of Dalmatian Puppy. I had it at 8 for a bit, but I wanted to make a little bit of room for some more songs. Just because Ariel is really powerful, and sometimes you just need to fill up your hand with a whole new world and stuff. So I did have to cut this down to 6. I want to try and get it to 8 again, but honestly, the deck is performing so well, I don't really know what to change to try and bump up my puppy count. And honestly, I'm only really bumping it up the puppy count to try and be like, hey, I have a full-on puppy deck, haha. But it's not doing that great. But a 2-3 stat line for all the puppies at a 2-drop Inkables are pretty good. Unfortunately, a lot of times they are ink because they don't really advance your board state unless you drop out Big Stitch, which we'll get to later. We're playing 4 copies of Piglet, the pirate captain. He is a pirate, he is a captain, which means that he does combo really well with Smee, where the Smee won't take damage because there is a captain on play. I don't know if that was intentional, but I love the fact that it is. So we're playing 4 copies of Smee. We also have 3 copies of Ariel. We are only playing 3. We don't have that big of a song list, but we do want to make sure that we have a whole new role in our opening hand if we can. And so Ariel is really valuable for that. You will miss with this deck a lot more with her than probably any other Steel Song variant, but that's not what this deck is really about. And she's still great to sing the songs when you need her, and she does hopefully search you for another one. But we are only playing about 14 songs, which is a little light for a Steel Song variant. Just keep in mind, this is not a song list. This is a puppy list. This is aggro. Let's get the dogs out. So we're only playing about 3 copies of her. We are playing 4 copies of Doc because, again, this is an aggro list. You kind of want to get aggro stuff. Rapunzel, we are playing 4 copies. She's the deck's draw power. We are playing 4 copies of Beast. Sometimes you just go into the end game and you have to draw more cards, so Beast is great for that. Where this deck really starts to shine is Perdita. Again, it's not so much as an aggro list at this point. You are playing a bit more mid-range with aggressive tempo. And if they can deal with your issues, seeing if your opponent can actually deal with your problems. And by your problems, your great puppies. So we are playing about 3 copies of her. 4 is too many. She's just uninkable, so I can't play 4 of her and I can't value her that high. But seeing her in your opening hand is usually pretty bad. But drawing into her after about turn 3 or 4, you get pretty excited because at that point there's a lot of corpses in the corpses of her dead puppies in the graveyard. So you can hopefully bring them back out, which honestly, a lot of time you're going to probably choose to opt in to bring out Smee or the Pirate Piglet. So the Pirates are there to finish off the games, where the puppies are there to kind of be the distraction. Everyone's going to look at the cute puppies while the Pirates are stealing the lore away. We are playing 4 copies of Stitch Rockstar. Absolutely. We are gonna, if you can get that chain going with a couple of puppies out onto the field, or even pirates, and drawing extra cards because of it, Rockstar Stitch is great just to flood the board, and you'll see it happen. Rise of the Titans. I'm playing 2 copies of this. You're still going to want to try and deal with Ruby Sapphire and a couple other locations where this deck does not have it cannot deal with locations well whatsoever. So having this at least of a 2 of in your deck, I think is kind of mandatory. You have to have some kind of way to deal with locations, whether it's a rush character or a direct removal spell like this. Or an action card, sorry. And so I do really recommend always keeping some kind of location/item removal out in your deck. We are playing 4 copies of Strength of a Raging Fire. We will flood the board a lot. This card is always live to us, which is great. With that said, I'm playing 3 copies of Along Came Zeus. 4 copies of A Whole New World and 3 copies of Grab Your Sword. So I originally had the Zeus and Grab Your Swords at 2, but honestly, Green Steel just gives so much of an issue. I wanted to play more Grab Your Swords because I've just been able to like knock out their Prince Johns and stop from discarding because I can't afford to discard cards, but I also can't outpace them completely for the green decks. So Grab Your Sword sitting at 3. Zeus I could probably consider putting down to 2 if I really wanted, and maybe playing a Perdita. But honestly, at that point, my song count starts to get too low, and so there's other issues that you might run into. So this is the deck list, guys. It's a pretty straightforward deck. Play puppies, play pirates. Pirates help get you the lore quickly. Puppies keep you on the field presence. If you can play new Stitch, new dog, and get your Rockstar Stitch out from there, you can really start to flood the board, which is kind of great. And if they don't have an answer for it, well, then you win the game. So, we are playing about 13 uninkables, which I try and keep as under 15. 15 is the magic number to me where I will not exceed that 15, but if you can get lower than that, the lower the better is always great. So, let's check out some gameplay, and hopefully you guys will enjoy this. Alright, so right off the bat, opening hand, we're facing against a yellow-purple, so and I'm assuming this is going to be kind of an aggressive lineup here. So I do want to play a little bit careful. I am going to instantly go in, ink an aerial, and play a Stitch right off the bat. I'm going to set up my board so that way I can make some favorable trades because I'm expecting bouncing and I'm expecting this. Lilo, seeing a Maleficent, and so on. I'm going to ink a Puppy. Even though it's good for trading, I do kind of want to start getting myself to be a little bit of an aggro lineup, and throwing down a couple Pirates might just allow me to do that. I'm also probably going to have to end up inking the other Pirate in my mindset, so that way I can drop the aerial, because I'm going to hope to sing A Whole New World before they actively flood the board. Seeing the Simba, though, here, it does kind of throw in some plans out of whack, because I was expecting to make some trades, but because of that, we do end up whiffing with the aerial, which isn't the end of the world, and so we're just going to go and quest for some lore, put the pressure on the aggressive player at that point, because now his Simba's going to have to trade into our pirate, and he's throwing down another Simba, so I'm starting to think, okay, maybe it's not so much of an aggro list, and so dropping down another Simba. They do ink a Rapunzel themselves, so they are limiting their draw power. And they do choose to go in and make the kill on the pirate, which is just the smartest thing to do, just making that trade. But I do have a Stitch. I was kind of hoping to see if I can get like a Rockstar Stitch and then go from there, but unfortunately not. But they do drop a Lilo, which does kind of throw me off. I was really hoping to see something a little bit better, so I am going to ink the Stitch. And I'm opting in. I'm kind of debating if I want to play it or not, just because I wanted to see the Rockstar Stitch here, but ultimately just going for the Whole New World so that way I can make sure I have a decent board. And I'm debating if I want to take out the Simba or not. I figure he's going to go and kill the Ariel, which I don't really need at the moment. And if they traded in two of the Simbas against the Ariel to weaken it up, I was ready for it. Playing the Rapunzel is still not the end of the world. My mindset is he's going to attack the Ariel, so that way I can just do Grab Your Swords. But he does opt in instead to attack the Stitch, which really does throw me off a little. But that is the best thing that I could have experienced. Because from there, I'm just going to be able to start singing away some of the damage, and it's going to be a good feeling. Like right there is when I kind of recognize I won in a way. I did draw the Rockstar Stitch after my Stitch has died, so it's slightly annoying. So we're just going to ink it anyways and then drop a Beast because just having the extra card on the field is better. I opt to not into questing with my Captain Hook just because I didn't want to risk it dying, but playing a 0 to hero for reducing the cost of one character by 1 star. At this point, I'm like, okay, you got a free Lilo, you got a Cinderella, okay, he's got songs, he's got Maleficent. This is the turn 1 board I was kind of expecting to deal with, so I'm a little bit in a worry here because I could try and outpace them a little bit, but it's not a very sound straight. Like it's one or the other. It's too risky. I don't like to leave that too much to risk because if they just drop a goat or bouncing other stuff, then I was worried. I do see that they drop a snake, bouncing the Rapunzel, which means they're going to be able to draw more. I get another Stitch in my hand, but it's just too expensive right now. And I kind of have to debate here if I want to opt in and just try and flood the board or drop Perdita. Ultimately, I decided to go for the puppies, sing the song, especially while there are cards in their hands, especially one of them being a Rapunzel. me not seeing the grab your swords was really what I was hoping for, so I decided to just start flooding the board, drop down another puppy, and then just going for quests. If he wants to make some trades, this is his chance, but he has to do something, otherwise this is my game to win. That is enough lore on board next turn if he just quests in to for me to take the victory. I checked their field just to see how many foxes got discarded. So far, only one fox, so I don't have to worry too. I do have to worry a little bit. Dropping a queen's castle here was completely off. At this point, I'm just like, all right, the guy doesn't know how to play because he should be making trades, and instead he's trying to set up his tempo. This is easy, very very easy victory. Out aggroing the aggro player felt great. This deck isn't intended to be aggro, despite my intro, but when it works, it works. So him opting in to quest in against everything and then just only kill my aerial, that was silly. He should have been making trades against the Smee. He should have been going in. Like, I mean, I guess this was a game. He did exactly what he would do to guarantee a loss, and I have no idea what's in his hand, but I have to assume that Queen's Castle was not going to benefit him in any way to actually get the game. And questing with the Maleficents to try and trade into something would have been a way smarter idea. So I just quest with everything on the field and go for. All right, so the next one we go against a Ruby Amethyst. So always interesting to see a meta deck against my weird gimmick decks that I throw in. Pretty solid hand, just ink the whole new world. We don't need two of them in our opening hand, but I do want to see it. And so I have some decisions I need to start making right off the bat. So I have a way to ramp up pretty well. But I'm going to ink the dock because I have two. Throw down the Stitch, and I have to kind of consider what I want to ink next. It's probably going to be the Rapunzel in my mindset. But seeing the Olaf right off the bat, I know I'm not going to be able to make favorable trades. Figured he's going to bounce it. He does not. He goes for the Cusco instead, which is understandable. If you don't have a snake, then you play Cusco. We're going to ink the Stitch and then just try and get a little bit more of an aggressive lineup ourselves. We're going to throw down the Pirate. And the Piglet itself is just always going to put that constant pressure. But to me here, seeing the Piglet, if I saw the Piglet and I saw a tap Stitch, I would be attacking into Cusco, especially when I have that kind of kill. Like I could have just attacked and saved that teeth instead. But he does leave my Stitch alive, which is usually pretty good news for me if I can get a Rockstar Stitch, but my luck isn't usually that great. So I just quest for the Stitch, just not expecting to see a Rockstar yet. And even if he does, he'd have to trade into a Mim for me to deal with. He chooses to play the Rabbit, which is pretty normal, what I would expect. And I don't really have much to play, so I just try and flood the board a little bit with the puppy, and from here I'm going to make a trade with the rabbit, just in case he does have a Mim or something. I really don't want to deal with the bouncing and giving him extra cards with the rabbit, so I'd just rather get it over with, play the one rabbit. He got 2 cards out of it, and my hand is looking relatively empty, but because we got to let him draw, his hand's going to be a little bit more full, so allows me to get more value out of the whole new world. Because I am probably going to end up having to hardcast it. Yeah, drawing the Strength of Raging Fire. I didn't really have anything to deal with Maui. I'm just going to hardcast and see what I can come up with. I ultimately choose to just pass the turn, though, because I can't deal with the Maui, and I don't really want to just lose something for one. But checking the graveyard, I do notice that he is out to be prepared, so I'm feeling a little bit more comfortable where I can flood the board. I got a Perdita. He does choose just to Dragon Fire this random 2-drop Stitch, which he must be really afraid of the Rockstar, but that is twice where he does manage to kill it as I draw it the next turn, so it's kind of annoying. I decided to play Ariel just to get some extra songs if possible. And it gives me more options for the next turn. We're going to ink a hook and play another Stitch, because now that we have that Rockstar Stitch, it will allow us to make some more plays. I do choose to just quest with the puppy, let him attack it, and that way I can make a little bit better of a trade with Grab Your Swords. So that was kind of like my mindset, just allow him to hit the Maui. Yeah. And then Grab Your Swords next turn if that happens. However, he had other plans, or at least you would think he'd have other plans, so he does end up playing a couple cards that do give me a trouble. Another Teeth of Ambitions, damage the Olaf just to take out the Stitch. Again, he really does not like Rockstar Stitch. Throwing my plans into whack. Seeing the bounce, he should have easily bounced the Maui, but he opts into bouncing the Olaf and then not even playing it, which is a huge misplay on his part. I am going to bring out the Stitch with Perdita as I drop it down. I am going to sing that song, and even though it only kills the Maui, it is still a good hit. It forces him to only be able to trade with 1 unless he plays a Madam Mim Fox. I pay 1 or ink 1 and then pass. Inking the Olaf, he does go in and he drops another Maui, instantly killing the aerial. That is the smartest thing he could have done here. But I think at this point it comes in a little too late. If he it doesn't out the Stitch here, this is where I'm going to feel like I need to start going off, and it works out pretty well. He does out Maui's Fishhook, which just to give evasive, so I can't trade into him. It has to be on his turn. We do play the Stitch. We are going to end up inking the other one afterwards, most likely though. So let's just play in and bring out our pirate, draw a card, play another one, draw a card, and I'm going to hold the Perdita because I don't really have anything else I can do with this. I do have Strength at the Raging Fire that I could choose to sing and kill the Maui if I wanted to, and I think that's the best option. We already got rid of two of his Be Prepared, so if he has it, if he has another one, he has another one. But it was probably my best play with only 4 cards in his hand at that point. I kind of assumed he wouldn't have it. And he does go in, trades the Stitch, which is totally fine at this point. But unfortunately, he does have the Mim on top of that, which is going to steal away Piglet's little extra lore boost. We still have the Perdita, so we can bring out the Piglet again and make him deal with it. So that's exactly what we do. Just bring it out, bring out Piglet. The dog summoning up the pirates questing for lore, bring it up to 15. I do drop another one, which is kind of a greedy play here. Just again, me saying if you have Be Prepared, you got Be Prepared. So let's see how it goes with this one. He pauses for a minute, looking around. Does he concede? No, he plays the rabbit. So playing the rabbit down, he feels like he has something to kind of do. And although he doesn't have to Be Prepared, he just makes the quest victory. All right, green steel. This deck I hate facing, but this is kind of where I came a little bit prepared. I knew I had my songs on my list. I had everything I needed to deal with this deck. So right off the bat, I don't quite want to get into a very aggressive lineup. I know he doesn't have any items or anything, so we're just going to ink that. Unfortunately, not getting a 1-drop does kind of hurt. Inking the Sudden Chill is a sigh of relief right here to me. So saying that says to me that he doesn't have any good 2-drops or singers that he's willing to trade. I'm going to ink a puppy and play a puppy because I do feel like having the puppy is a great trade. If he does end up having if he does choose to quest, this kind of stops him from doing so. And inking a Captain Hook was very interesting to me because at that point I'm like, okay, that was a good 1-drop. So he plays 1-drop, but in playing another one, I'm automatically expecting another Robin Hood next turn. So assuming the Robin Hood, I'm going to have a good trade because of the Along Came Zeus, so I just make that trade and drop some characters on board. So now he's going to play the Robin Hood in my mind and take out my puppy, but now I have Along Came Zeus to just even that out right away. Seeing that he was playing the 4-drop Beast, I personally really like that card, but if he knew what I was playing, he probably should have held it. Because if you're dealing with an aggressive line, having that 1 extra ping damage, unless that is your only inkable, you really shouldn't worry about that too much. I choose to ink the Rapunzel just to be able to deal with the Robin Hood, but ultimately I decide not to quest. I don't really want to make that trade yet. To me, getting 1 extra lore this early wasn't really worth it. I'm going to ink this Smee and play the Whole New World. Just hard casting that right off the bat. He gets an extra draw out of the Prince John because I discarded 1 card, but now that I have the Grab Your Swords, I'm feeling confident. I'm just going to pass. There's no point in me flooding the board right now yet. Well, one, I don't have the option or ink to, but there's no point in me questing when I'm only going to lose a trade against Captain Hook. I'm hoping that he pulls off and just starts flooding the board like a bad green player. Against somebody who's playing Steel Songs. If you are playing against a Steel Song player and you are green and they just Whole New Worlded, just expect to Grab Your Swords. Don't flood the board with a bunch of lobies like this. But this was just perfect to me, getting to see all this. I kind of hold for a minute. I'm like, should I hold it a little bit more, opting into hard casting it? I didn't have a 1-drop, which was kind of why I was debating if I really didn't want to, but ultimately it was just too juicy of a card to not play. I go in and decide to quest. He can trade a Smee for it, and just to give myself a little bit extra pressure, if he really wants to tackle a Smee into somebody, I'm okay with that at this point. And he does manage to trade into the Piglet, which is understandable. I wasn't flooding the board with any characters anyways, so it wasn't doing as much right now. And now I have a couple decent lines I can go. Thinking about the aerial line, I'm thinking about the beast line with the puppy. So it's gonna kind of come down. But as soon as he throws the Prince John down again, I know I need to get my other grab your swords. So I am going to instantly opt in, try and dig for it. We do find like along came Zeus, and then we're going to play another aerial, but unfortunately we do miss, which in the intro I told you guys, I'm like, it is something that you will kind of expect, and if it does happen, it happens, but it's not the end of the world. So at this point, though, I'm starting to expect, okay, I'm probably going to have my hand discarded pretty hard, but he doesn't quite have it. He does go in, he opted in for a more damaging package. So the green steel damage package is an interesting line. I think it is pretty good. It is just not the best line in my opinion. Throwing down a beast, managing to strength of a raging fire as well. I ultimately opt in to take out a few of the characters, managing to take out Helga with just the Strength of the Raging Fire. I'm feeling in a good position. I don't even feel like I need to. If he decides to discard me, it's not even the end of the world to me at the moment. So I got some draw from Beast at this point. So unless he's playing those direct pings, which he was, then again I was feeling really confident. And even if he decided to ping the damage, then I had Rapunzel in hand. He does have 3 ink left. He does play Let the Storm Rage on onto the Beast, which again, it does stop me from drawing 1, but thankfully I had the Rapunzel in my hand, allowing me to draw for 2 instead. I think that was a pretty worth trade on my part. From here, I do kind of opt in. I'm like, all right, I can go in and take it out. I'm just going to sing the song, and from there, I can just drop a Smee, quest for 1, quest for 2. The beast draw is not going to matter much because I could just sing a whole new world. I do have a Perdita in my hand as well. He is going to drop a couple characters onto the board. And I didn't really get much out of this one right here. So I do drop the Perdita just because I know he can't really stop me at this point. He hasn't shown anything of grab your swords. I can expect it, but if he has it, again, he kind of has it. And he just decides to forfeit. All right, the last match against Ruby Sapphire. So one of the tougher decks in the format. But looking at this hand, I'm freaking stoked, man. This is a perfect opening hand. The only thing that could have been better was an aerial, and then getting an extra draw out of it, or the search out of aerial. But that's, as far as an opening hand, I was ecstatic to see this. Having the Rockstar Stitch right off the bat. We're going to ink a Rapunzel. We don't need too many of her. We don't need 2 copies of her. We just play the Stitch, and I'm going to go for a more aggressive line, hoping that he doesn't have the Queen of Hearts on turn 2. He does ink a Bell, going in, playing a Queen of Hearts. So to me, I'm like, okay, well, I can't play too aggressive here. I wanted to be able to play the Piglet, but instead I opted into playing 2 extra 1-drops, so that way I could play the other Piglet in my hand and start to flood the board. If he wants to make the trade with the Queen of Hearts, he can make the trade with the Queen of Hearts. But in my mind, I'm like, I probably wouldn't. He opts to saying 1 jump ahead. He's starting the ramping process, which is probably pretty good here. He is going to end up inking 1 extra card, though, with Maui, and unfortunately dropping a Fishbone, and I realized I need to end this game quick, unfortunately. We're going to ink the Rapunzel, seeing that we got the whole new world in hand, and at this point I kind of debate, like, trading the extra Stitch I think was just the better option. I do quest with both because they're not going to, he's probably not going to have another Queen of Hearts yet. So if he does, then he got the better trade in that case. But the fact that he didn't play a Queen of Hearts here is extremely good for us, and it actually gives us a chance because if he did play a Queen of Hearts instead of this Harem, we probably would lose this game at that play alone. So I just kind of calculated risk, taking out that 1 hit of a Captain Hook. I mean, that field presence is everything sometimes, especially against a blue Sapphire player. We do ink a Beast. He's just too expensive right now, and then we do opt in to play the Rockstar Stitch. We are going to start questing with them, and I know he doesn't have anything to directly deal with the hook either, so I do decide to quest with him. But sitting at 7 ink right off the bat, he does play the Maui to instantly take out the Rockstar Stitch, unfortunately. And so to me, this is screaming that he did not have the Be Prepared. He does quest drawing more cards, and I gotta figure out something to do. I don't want to give him that many more cards, especially with such a high ink count. So the whole new world is almost dead in my hand right now. So I do quest with the dock, play the pirate, play the Smee, make the trade with the Maui just because dealing with that, I don't want him to lose. I don't want to lose the 2 lore dock. And sitting at 11 lore right now is pretty comfortable at about turn 5. He does go for the Tremaine. This is actually where I feel like I made a pretty solid mistake. I don't think I should have kept Doc over Smee. I was worried about the extra damage, but I figured if I do end up getting a 5 drop in my hand, then I wouldn't have been able. It would have been a dead card if I had like the Rockstar or something. Like that was my concern. It did tend to work out. I choose to just go in for the aggressive line, getting my extra lore out of the Pirates Piglet, having two Smee on the field. This says, do you have Be Prepared? Do you have something to clear my board? Because if not, I got like he's got the Tremaine to get a kill, and I'm assuming he has something else in his hand, like a Maui, or he's got a dragon or something. Uh, but gaining that extra 2 lore, I'm like, we're right here. We're basically choosing to race against it. He's also been stacking cards with Hiram this entire time, so his board is his hand is going to be flooded with extra cards, where my whole new world will get more value. He does unfortunately have the Maleficent Dragon. He does make the trade, and so from here it is just, can you stop my board when I drop multiple things? I do opt, and thankfully, drawing the dock, I say, hey, again, can you deal with my board? Not committing for the whole new world, because at this point he wasn't drawing enough cards to make it worth it. I wanted to make sure that the popsicle was gone before he actually played it down. He does choose to quest, and at this point I'm hoping for an inkable so that way I can hardcast whole new world myself, or a 2 cost or a 2 lore quester. But seeing as many cards in his hand at this point, he drops the whole new world, or the Be Prepared, onto the board. He played that very well of how he should have, but unfortunately he's just too far behind at 18 lore. It's an uphill battle for me, but seeing the 1 drop Stitch, that's easy enough for me to ink. I'm going to hard cast that, and we don't really draw too well with that whole new world. It does kind of reset the board a little bit, and we just have to play a multiple characters. So my mindset is he's either going to have the more Be Prepareds, or he is going to have just a couple like Tremaines or single target eliminations. So I opt into trying to flood the board a little bit more and just bait out that Be Prepared, especially after seeing the fact of him playing 3 extra characters. So if he didn't play 3 characters like this, I probably would have gone a little bit of a different route. But because he's flooding the board, I wanted to make sure he felt the pain that is, hey, if you are going to be prepared, you're wiping your own characters. So I drop down as many characters as I can onto the field and say, do you got Be Prepared? And we got rid of 1 and a Scar personally, so we know there's 3 in the deck at least. At least 2 more in the deck, but I'm assuming 3. Inking the Maleficent Dragon builds up some suspense to this all, and he does start the quest line as we know it's coming. The Be Prepared does hit. Slowly, but he does hit it. So seeing this, now I have to say, okay, do you have enough single target elimination? The only play I really have is playing Perdita and just dropping a Smee onto the board as well. I debate about inking the Rise of the Titans, and my mindset of why I didn't was because if he dropped McDuck Manor, which he definitely had the ink to do stuff and drop McDuck Manor, I just wanted to be safe, just in case. Popping the Tremaine was a pretty good move at this point. I'm like, okay, well, you need another single target removal. So I'm expecting a Let It Go or a Dragonfire or something. And a Let It Go was it. Giving me a little bit extra lore, which is not too bad. But here I'm kind of like, okay, well, crap. We're dropping down. We're getting down to about 4 cards. The top deck of the Perdita comes in clutch. Can you do it again is basically what I'm asking my opponent. And so after about 20 seconds of just waiting, decides to play for the grandma. He is searching for that out. Draws a card. No idea what it is. I really wish knew what it was. He's got 2 Be Prepared's gone. Has another Grammatala, so now his only real out at this point. He doesn't have a Be Prepared as an option anymore. So he needs to be able to ink and then play something else. Or sing a Let It Go. Unfortunately, having to sing the How Far I'll Go is all it takes. At this point, he has nothing to do to stop me from questing for 2. And no matter what he drew, it wouldn't have mattered, unfortunately. And that's the puppy deck, guys. Well, puppy slash pirates. It's just, they're really fun combo together. So far, I haven't really gotten to see too much aggro love for pirate piglet. Such a great card. He really is. He's probably one of the more MVPs. Perdita is super underrated if you are playing an aggressive line. Just being able to spam them out, whether you just want to get like Stitch to shift into something big, whether you want to just drop Smee again, so that way you can quest for 2 really easily, or if you have a huge board already and you just grab Piglet Pirate, to say, can you deal with it? The deck is super fun. It's really, really good. I do think it has some competitive potential. This is just my first kind of lineup to it. Well, I wouldn't say first. This is my first competitive version of this deck. I've been trying to make puppies work for a long time. Unfortunately, like Lucky and Rolly and all the other puppies, like Pongo and stuff, just don't quite fit that well if you want to make it a competitive list. So there is that. It's kind of unfortunate. They're just not good enough. But Perdita is phenomenal, and just the 2-3 stat line is really tough for a lot of decks to deal with still, at least on turn 3. So if you want to see more of this content, let me know. Please like, subscribe, do all the YouTube stuff. Please let me know what deck you want to see next. I got a pretty fun idea of what I want to do next, but after that, I'm kind of like, okay, I need to do something interesting. So, yeah, do all the YouTube stuff. Catch you all next time. Thanks, guys.